Hello my friends and welcome to a new video. Today finally I can bring you a review about the Logitech RS50 wheelbase. When it comes to the design, well, I am all for this design of Logitech. It's really a nice design. If you look at the competition, Fanatec is still okay, but Thrustmaster, for example, this is really heaps better than the design of the Thrustmaster wheelbases. You have the nice aluminium center, you have the plastic panel in front and in the back. It's also not too big, so 15 centimeters deep by 16 centimeters high and 19 centimeters width at the widest part of the wheelbase. So it's not too small, it's not too big. It has a nice form. Also, you don't have the rectangular form like you have with Fanatec or with Moza. It's more trapezium form, which I really can appreciate in this design. And well, yeah, I would say add a bit more color, but I say this with every wheelbase. Perhaps a strike of red or blue somewhere would have been nice. But still, I do think that the wheelbase itself, it's a pure Logitech wheelbase. It looks very premium. When it comes to technology, well, there is an 8Nm direct drive available for the RS50. This will, generate a peak of 8Nm torque, but after driving with it, and you will see in the driving experience, well, it does feel quite nice, quite heavy already for what it is, 8Nm torque. There's also a little display on the wheelbase, 3 cm by 2 cm little display. It will give you some it can give you some telemetry from the game if the game supports it, but it is very handy just for changing the settings on the fly with the wheelbase. So you have the little button on the side, you can just push, you can adapt the TrueForce audio, steering wheel angle, the damper. So all the settings that you can change them on the wheelbase itself because of the screen which it has. It's a monochrome display, so no colors on it, but I think it's a very nice addition to the wheelbase itself. For the back, so the connections happens via 3 USB-A ports, so you can attach your Logitech pedals via USB to the back of this wheelbase. Same for a shifter. Of course, keep in mind the older pedals of Logitech, they use more like a serial connector, and you can't directly connect them to the back of this wheelbase, so you will need the Logitech racing adapter for this to branch the older pedals to this wheelbase and use it. I really like the fact that they went for the USB-A complete collection. When I was looking at Thrustmaster, they kept like a hybrid of several stuff. You had an RJ, you had a DIN, so they had a bit of all, but here for Logitech all USB-A, I think it's really nice. Of course, you need to know that you cannot attach any third-party hardware via USB to this wheelbase. So no Thrustmaster shifter via USB, via the USB of the RS50, it is not possible. The connection itself to the computer is via USB-C to USB-A, so they also opted for the latest in USBs for the connection there, which I think is what every company should do these days. Further, we have the QR, the quick release system, which feels very solid, very nicely done, and it is also foolproof, which I like also a lot. It has like the little slot in on the top that you need to align your wheel to it, and it just goes on like this and not different. So foolproof, very good, a very good quick release. A last thing for technology would be the TrueForce that it uses. I have been talking about this a lot. If you guys have seen videos of me before, from Logitech, the G93 or the G Pro, you know that I really like TrueForce, and it's no different in this wheelbase. And so what the TrueForce does is just give you some extra animo, some extra noise of force feedback when you are driving, from shifting, from the road surface, from the curb. It just brings in a bit of extra animo, which I really appreciate in wheelbases. So really, for technology, the RS50 is really nice. So we start with the TrueForce off, and immediately in the corners you can feel the power of this wheelbase. There the curbs also, I could feel them even resonate into the chair. Very good. Here, as usual, there is not a lot of detail, but the detail that it gives, very fine. Again, here on this part, there's a bit more detail, and you can feel it in the road. It should get a bit more intense towards the end. I don't feel it intensified that much. Return to center. Yeah, very good, very good. Here, my favorite corner, and this is where the power will tell us if it's enough or not. Yeah, okay, no, the lateral force is very much okay. Again, a lot of detail in those parts. Oh, it makes you struggle, huh? Oh. Very nice, very nice. We're going to turn the TrueForce on now. Yeah, immediately you feel the extra vibrations. Here also you can feel a little extra coming into your steering wheel. Just a very nice added details. And when you rev up also, so without the TrueForce it is nice. With the TrueForce, yeah, it's even better. Very powerful. It feels very powerful because it has only, well, it has 8 Newton meter of peak torque, but yeah, it's enough, I can tell you. It's a very intense steering wheel. A very intense wheelbase, this one. But that's the thing. I mean, there are so many wheelbases out there, and if you look at the pure force feedback, they all resemble each other because most of them are really good, and it's very hard to make a difference between most of the wheelbases until you go look at the extra protocol that they use. So one of the things that I really like about the RS50 is that it is already implemented in a niche game like Taxi Simulator, and it's a bit the reason why people choose for Logitech wheelbases, because they are most of the time one of the first to be implemented in the games. So here I have the RS50, the force feedback works perfectly, the buttons can be mapped properly, and everything works just as it should. When it comes to the force feedback of the RS50 in this game, I would say that it is one of the best experiences that I have already had so far with a steering wheel here. It gives you the necessary force feedback when you take your turns, for example, but also when you go over the curbs, when you go over the speed bump, so everything, it makes you feel it. But of course, Taxi Simulator is not really the game that you will buy to have some truthful force feedback of a steering wheel. Sometimes you have bumps that speed bumps that work, and the other times, the one after it, they don't work. So that's a bit of a game problem, not necessarily a hardware problem of the RS50. What I do think is that it's much of a shame that TrueForce is not implemented yet on Taxi Simulator, because the roads here, there's not much road detail in it, no force feedback coming from there, and having that bit of a motor humming, or when you shift that you feel it, it would be very nice sensation. Again, this is not really because of Logitech, but more of the developer of Taxi Simulator to implement. But I would say that it would make the driving sensation even a lot better. Yeah. So I would certainly be able to recommend this wheelbase for games like this, a bit niche games. It's certainly worth going for Logitech, and specifically this RS50. Come on, my friend, move your van. So I would say that the driving sensation in BeamNG can be compared to the driving sensation that I have in, or that I had in Taxi Simulator. It also feels very smooth, the force feedback, very powerful also, sometimes a bit too powerful. It can easily sprain your wrist, I am sure of this, but like I said, it just feels good, very smooth, return to center, very powerful and quickly, and well, it just drives fantastic. But the addition to BeamNG is that this game really supports the TrueForce, and that, my friends, is a real game changer. I already said it for the G Pro, and it's the same in this RS50. I'm just driving now at low RPM, and I can feel the entire rig resonate under the RS50. If I go a bit higher in RPM, it all feels much different. Also, the road surface, I can feel it in the steering wheel, that it just gives that bit of extra details from it. And here, oh yeah, this is fantastic. This is really fantastic. I said it before, the TrueForce, it is really a game changer, and I think that people are starting to realize it, and companies also. You have for example Fanatec, that went with their full force, a bit the same way as they wanted that the TrueForce is going. Problem is that, yeah, they can't get it off the ground. There's only one game that supports it at this moment, and that is iRacing. You have Harmony also, but I tested it, and I think the added details, or the added animo that you get from it is really disappointing compared to something like TrueForce. So the companies are trying to copy it, but they're nowhere close. Again, for this game also, BeamNG, I can really recommend the Logitech RS50 as a wheelbase to drive with. Now, when it comes to compatibility, so you have two flavors of the RS50. You have the Xbox PC version, and you have the PlayStation 5 PC version. And if you look at the games, well, there are already quite a lot of games compatible with the RS50 wheelbase. I was pleasantly surprised, for example, that Taxi Simulator, that's a game I really love doing, Barcelona. Taxi Simulator, it was already supporting the RS50, so I could also test this beautiful wheelbase on that beautiful game. When it comes to software, I would say that Logitech kept it very simple with their software. There are not that many options that you can change in the G-Hub software. You have the steering wheel angle, you have the damper, you have the filter, you have the TrueForce that you can manage, but that is about it. And if you compare this to other manufacturers, then you see that their software is much more elaborated than the software of Logitech, the G-Hub. So I would say that For starters, this is a blessing because you do not have that much settings that you need to change in the G-Hub software itself. But for more experienced users that want to really fine-tune their steering wheel, I think that it's just a bit too little. Ecosystem, not great. Ecosystem, not great. They started really late with their ecosystem. Well, it's not that long that they have been on the direct drive market, but it takes ages for Logitech to bring out other peripherals. At this moment, what they have is they have their shifter handbrake thingy. So it's just a sequential shifter. They have a quick release that you can mount other wheels on, like the Momo wheels that they have. What they have, they have the racing adapter to attach the older pedals to, or the older hardware like the pedals and the shifter, older shifter to it. They also have now 2 sets of pedals, so they brought together with the RS50 some new pedals. I haven't tested them yet, but yeah, they're like the budget pedals, but budget pedals that already come with a load cell in it. And this is something which you don't see with other starter pedals, that the load cell is already integrated into the system. So that's good for the ecosystem. But yeah, hey, where is that H shifter? When it comes to the pricing, well, the wheelbase itself for PlayStation, RS50 for PlayStation comes in at €399. And this is the same as the PlayStation version of the Thrustmaster T598. And I think the Fanatec GT DD Pro comes in at 600 euro, yeah, 600 euro for the 8Nm version. So the pricing is very, very decent. They kept it relatively low. Of course, this is only the wheelbase. You don't have a steering wheel and pedals with it. And when you put a steering wheel with it, the price will go up. Same for the pedals. And if you then compare it to, for example, to Thrustmaster, then you will see a very augmented price towards the price of the Thrustmaster T598. But yeah, there are quite a lot of differences also, and I think when I look at these differences for the steering wheel quality, the pedals, that it is quite in line with the pricing of Thrustmaster. So I think it offers a very good value bang for buck on the PlayStation market for steering wheels. When, of course, we look at PC, there it is a bit different. You have other players, you have SimMagic, you have Moza, so there it is a bit different. Of course, the wheelbase itself then comes in at €299, which is already a lot, which is €100 cheaper than the PlayStation version. And then, yeah, I think it's also a reasonable deal and comparable to the competition. Haha, issues. Well, I have not found any issues so far on when I was looking through Google for issues for the RS50. There are none yet. However, I had an issue. When I got my wheelbase in, I ordered it really fast, but when I got it in, it was a dead on arrival. And the problem was that the USB plug on the end, it was not soldered well onto the motherboard, I assume, because when I branched it, there was simply no connection, no USB connection made. It said on the little display, no USB connection. No matter what I did, it didn't work unless when I pushed the the cable a bit up, then it made connection for a second. So I knew it was something to do with the USB connection on the motherboard of the RS50. Is this a structural problem? Yeah, well, I don't know. There are just not enough reviews out there, not enough user experiences out there to already establish that the RS50 has issues, technical issues for hardware. So, but I just wanted to give you my experience with it. Also, I have to also say that I really had issues with the customer support of Logitech. So I ordered it via the site, and I contacted them back, and really they have this AI assistant which really drove me up the walls. I think I talked 1 hour to this AI assistant to establish that there was a problem and that it would transfer the call to a real person. Then this real person, he also talked like an AI to me, and it took me 2 hours to doing tests and stuff like that to see that it was in fact a dead on arrival. And then they transferred me to another person that would arrange some sort of refund. I needed to send it back and then they would give me a refund. Well, you guys know it, you have heard it before. Now I told them, yeah, look, I don't want a refund, I just want to exchange it because I want to review this wheelbase. Ah, yes, okay, it will be done. And then after 2 weeks it was still not done. I was really losing patience at that moment. And I complained. I really made a letter of complaint to them. And then fortunately the day after, they sent me like a tracking ticket that I could send my my dead on arrival, and then they reimbursed me the money in a few days later. So it basically, okay, they do their job. The technical service was okay, so I was able to exchange my wheelbase, but it took so long, and all this AI nonsense that they throw at you, these companies. I mean, this is just wasting our time instead of your time. It wastes companies' time. It wastes users' time also. So I really would love for Logitech to review their AI assistant, because for me, it just added some salt into the wound of already getting a dead on arrival unit here. When it comes to issues for software, I also had an issue there. For testing, I use ACC normally. So I started up ACC, and the steering wheel rotation, the steering wheel angle, it was simply, I couldn't get it right. Fortunately, I was not the only one who went looking on Google. It seems that it is an issue in ACC itself that they need to fix. And then I saw that the resolution, the workaround would be to make the steering wheel angle 1200, I think, in game in ACC. And then I was able to drive a bit normal with it, but still it was not optimal. But at least I could do some testing with it. But this just shows that it's Logitech can have these issues also with the game developers out there, that there are issues with the hardware compatibility with the game. As conclusion, I want to say that Logitech brought out a very decent wheelbase with the RS50. The build quality seems to be okay. The design is fantastic. The force that it generates is already very impressive. The amount of details that it can generate, the TrueForce that it has, still better than any other of the other protocols that I've tested. The harmony of Thrustmaster, full force of Fanatec, they don't match the TrueForce of Logitech. So a very, very decent base that I could really recommend to people out there if they consider the RS50 as a wheelbase to buy. So a last question that I have for you guys, I want to see in the comments. Should I compare the RS50 wheelbase with the T598 of Thrustmaster, or should I rather compare it with the Fanatec GT DD Pro 8 Nm? Because they are both a bit different, of course, or I can do a comparison with both. Let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I had a bit of an issue with my voice. I hope you still enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I will see you all next video. Bye bye.